Few things are for sure in this life, but this is. If we live for any substantial amount of time, we will encounter grief due to the loss of a loved one. Not something any of us ever want, and we all handle it differently. This podcast is to feature those who have done purposeful and meaningful things through their grief. These people featured on here are normal folks, just like you and me, who were thrust into a place they never wanted to be in their lives. A painful place. As they moved through their pain, they realized that something worthwhile, something for the greater good, could come out of the unthinkable. I'm sure that none of them would ever consider themselves to be a hero, but when I searched the definition of the word hero, I found this: a person who is admired or idolized for courage, outstanding achievements, or noble qualities. And that fit. And so it's my privilege to bring you the remarkable stories of these heroes in grief. Hi, everyone. This is Tom, your host for the Heroes in Grief podcast, and the response has been incredible so far, and I want to thank you for that. It's getting out to people, and they're letting us know that it's helping them, and that is what it's all about. I want to make you aware of a way that you can support this podcast without having to spend 1 cent, and that is through affiliate marketing. I've set up affiliate marketing for online shopping. If you do online shopping, then I have links to all the major retailers, most of them anyways, and I can provide them for you so that when you buy online through those links, you'll help support the podcast through the percentages that we get. It doesn't cost you anything more. You just shop like you regularly would on the sites that you love. It's very easy. All you have to do is shop. And that's it. Just let me know the links to the places that you want to shop at, and I will provide the affiliate links so that you can do it. If you want more information on this, you can go to heroesandgrief.com. It takes you to the Linktree page where a video explains it in a little more detail. But you can always email me at tom@heroesandgrief.com, and I can answer questions for you. But you can support the podcast that way, and it's very easy, very simple, and it doesn't cost you a cent. Isn't that great? Thank you. Now here's today's episode. Hey, welcome everybody to Heroes in Grief. Thanks for listening and watching today. Appreciate it. If you are listening, you can watch these too. You can watch the beautiful people I have on here, and not so much the early episodes. I have a few of those that are on video too, but they're up on YouTube, but just an audio version. So maybe I'll get to them someday. Who knows? But I'm trying to get them all out there. But now we are doing all video too. So those are there. But anyways, today I have Holly Gainsboro with me, and Holly and I connected on LinkedIn way back there somewhere. And so it took a little time, but we finally got our act together on both sides and got together on this. So Holly has a website, and I always say the website early so that people can check that out while you're listening if you like. It's goldenheartgrief.com, goldenheartgrief.com. So just spell it right out, and you can find it right there and look at Holly's things that are on there. But Holly, thank you so much for coming on Heroes in Grief. Good to have you.
Well, thanks for having me. And thanks for, like I said earlier, following up. I feel like, sometimes I just can't get my shit together. So can I curse on here? I can curse on here.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I've listened and watched before, so I think I can. So it's your podcast, whatever you want.
Yeah, all good. So yeah, ditto on my side. The same thing. Things get crazy, and you know what? My life's pretty together, but I don't know why things seem to be so scattered out there sometimes.
Right.
And it's like, wow, I think I lay more upon me than that's really worth. You get anxious about things that you shouldn't or whatever. So
you know what? And I've decided. So I'm in my 60s, so I'm older than you.
I'm there too.
Oh, okay. Well, I just had I'm definitely older than you though. I just had my birthday on Friday. So, and every year, once I hit 60, I started having I would attach like a Real Housewife tagline to it.
Oh yeah.
So now so I'm 66. So now it's like 66 and nothing to fix. So we're all good.
I like it. Okay. Well, I'm at 63. So I'll start thinking about my next one. Maybe.
Yeah.
I can do that. You also do a podcast, and we've talked about you having me on there, which I appreciate.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And it's called the Grief and Hope podcast, and you can find that on all.
It's creating space for grief and hope.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry, I missed I have it written right there, and I didn't even look at the top part. Sorry about that. Creating space.
Bio, so.
Yeah, creating space for grief and hope podcast. So look that up as well. That is on, don't listen right now because you're listening to this one, but,
That's right.
but it's on all the major outlets. You can find it there. So just look for it and you'll get it. So, Holly, what got you involved in all this stuff that we do with grief?
Well, we all have a story. I know you have a story. I don't think any of us come to this field without some type of experience that has deeply impacted us. I joke around and I say, nobody wakes up one morning in high school or college like, "Oh, I want to be a grief specialist. I want to become a grief expert," right? It's not the sexiest field on the planet,
Right.
but it's necessary. So what brought me into the grief arena was my late husband, Stephen. So my husband, Stephen Gainsboro, in February of '09 was diagnosed with a brain tumor, glioblastoma.
Oh, sorry.
And thank you. He was awesome. And I tell people that's when my grief began, that anticipatory grief.
Mm-hmm.
Although I didn't know that's what it was, because I didn't know that you could grieve things other than death losses. I didn't know about non-death losses. But the experience with Stephen was sacred, painful, glorious, blessed, horrible, all the things, for 22 months. And after he died, I knew that our experience and his experience and who he was through those 22 months, and he was really quite amazing. It couldn't be for nothing. What my kids went through, what I went through, and what he went through, that it had to mean something. There had to be some meaning. Not meaning but behind his death, not meaning about his diagnosis, but meaning in his life and the journey with glioblastoma and who he meant to us, to my children, to me, to his friends, to his sister, to my parents. And so what can I do? How can I honor him in the best way and most beautiful, loving way possible? By living my life, which he made very clear to me, even early on in his diagnosis, but definitely as he was dying, that he made it very clear he wanted me to live. And he wanted me to love. And he wanted me to find love, which I did. I'm remarried. And he gave me that permission, which is the most incredible gift any, partner can give another partner. And I felt pulled to be present for other people. I felt like that was my soul's calling. And it took some time. He died, it'll be 15 years in December. He died December 11th, 2010. And I got into this grief work early 2014, I think February-ish 2014. And honestly, even though I knew it's what I wanted to do, and I thought about going back to college and getting an MSW, which ended up not happening, which was a blessing in disguise because I've got a million certifications. And so my lane is grief and only grief, and I can work with people all over the country and world. But my husband, Joe, who's also widowed, he really encouraged it. We were friends. And when his late wife, Rona, died, and she died in March of 2012, he really kept saying, "You need to do something with this," because I was so present for him and he saw me with other people. And so it was his encouragement that got me to really do the certification trainings and to get into the work of one-on-one work and groups and workshops, and then ultimately the podcast. So that is sort of the shorter elevator statement story.
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. Your husband now, what's his name?
His name is Joe
Joe.
Machicoti.
Was he seeking help himself maybe at that time or? No?
He wasn't. We were friends. So I knew his late wife. I was friendly with her.
Oh.
Joe and I became good friends during one of her illnesses. She had a couple of illnesses. And it was cancer that ultimately, that she died from. And he and I were friends. And we became really good friends, especially during her illnesses. And then when she died, and we were just friends, we would go for these long walks. And so he was getting support from me, but he wasn't seeking support, any counseling or therapy or coaching, any grief coaching. But he found that my support was really helpful for him. And then I joked around. I used to say to him, we're best friends. We can never date. And so my joke was, I said we couldn't date. I didn't say we couldn't get married. So, all of a sudden when you're spending this much time with somebody and he's an amazing man, I don't know, Tom, what I did in a past life to be so incredibly blessed to have two men who love me so much, and adore me, and to have this twice in one lifetime And some people only get it once. I don't know what I did, but I'll take it. And
Yeah.
I just, like I said, the blessings are enormous,
How
for where I
beautiful.
am in my life.
Beautiful. That's great. Yeah. So he recognized that you were effective for him, and I'm sure compassionate, all those other things that related to you being in this type of service. So that's
Yeah.
what a great endorsement, and great to have that strength behind you for sure.
Yes.
Sometimes it's difficult for couples, and you just have to work that out together and realize that you are in those separate spaces, and to be respectful of that with one another. So, yeah,
Right.
wonderful.
Yeah. And
What
as
were
you
your?
know, we
Oh,
all grieve differently,
yeah,
so Joe grieves Rona differently than I grieve Stephen. Like no two people are going to grieve exactly the same. And being able to like hold that space for each other and say, you know what, you don't have to do it my way.
yeah.
And I don't have to do it your way, but we're going to honor whatever way it is.
Hmm. Yes. So, what were your first steps? What did you recognize that? Did you start taking courses, or what did you do to start developing kind of your niche in this niche? Well, I don't know. How do they say that? I don't know.
However you want. It's your podcast. You pronounce things however you want, and I will just go along for the ride with you.
I don't know. I don't like the niche thing. I like niche. I don't know.
Yeah, I usually say niche. Like I
That's the
found
way
my
I
niche.
learned it.
I have a very specific. Yeah, I say niche as
No
well.
offense to anyone out there, but it's just,
Exactly. And if you're offended, sorry. Um, so lived experience, number one, right? It's all about, we start with our lived experience. And then I started taking different training programs. So the first one I did was the grief recovery method. That felt the safest for me because if you've heard of it,
yes.
it's a very scripted model. And so there's a handbook, there's a grief recovery handbook, which is very useful. It has a lot of value to it. And then you have a lesson plan. I called it a lesson plan. It's a script. And so when I first started, because I thought, who am I? Even though I had lived experience, who am I without an MSW or not a licensed therapist? So I said, well, I'll just do this. It's psychoeducational. This I can do. And I did it for quite some time. And then I felt like it was time to do some other models and learn some other ways of being present and supporting people in their grief, because it's not one size fits all. And so therefore there's not going to be one model that's perfect for everyone. And I found that that specific model was great for some clients, but it wasn't great for others.
Mm-hmm.
So I put this out there to people, look into it. There are some great grief recovery specialists out there. The handbook is great. It is very, very helpful. And there are also other opportunities for support.
Yeah, I think
So
that's
I, so,
important for people.
mhm,
Yeah, it's the same with therapy and those type of things. Keep searching to find out what fits for you, because it may not be a clinician. It may be a peer-to-peer situation or something like that that works for you. It's whatever works for you, folks. Just keep searching and find it. There's something out there for you, no doubt.
exactly, exactly. And so then I just went on and did some other things. I did take David Kessler's grief educator certification. I did something through the University of Wisconsin, grief support specialist. I've done training with Claire Bidwell Smith, conscious grieving. And then I'm constantly joining webinars. What's Your Grief, which is based in Baltimore, but they do webinars and all sorts of things. Everything is virtual. And those are great. I've done things through the Dougie Center, which really focuses on child grief.
Mm-hmm.
So I've done a lot of certifications through them. And I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, I am constantly in learning mode. So I'm actually finishing up a grief movement certification with Paul Deniston. I'm also doing another certification with mindful grieving with Tara Brach, who is known for mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
She's very famous for mindfulness, and she's doing something through an ICAVM. So I'm finishing up something there. So I am constantly in learning mode, because the more I can learn, the more tools I can get, the more I can provide.
Yeah. I'm at the point I recognized right away, after Jeff's passing, that I wanted to help people, and I didn't know how that was. And what I did is I took Kessler's course, just to what was it, maybe 3-4 months into Jeff passing, and
Mm.
didn't know what I wanted to do with it. I was like, I got to help people. I need to help them. And so the podcast spurred out of that. And I have more strengths with group sessions or speaking, that type of thing. So I'm developing that more. But that idea has come upon me recently, and I have used other things as well. But to expand the resource base for all of that. And this podcast helps a lot. I just recorded a session that was incredible, that brought a whole new aspect of looking at grief and honoring your loved one and celebrating their life that I had never thought about. And it just opens up this web of thinking and resource. I love providing resources for people. So the more I can have, the better it is, and just direct them. I don't see myself so much as a one-on-one person. I can do it, and I have, but I'm not putting that out there as a practice or anything like that. I could rather provide something for them that connects for them and with them, so that they can use that. So yeah.
Yeah, well, that's meaningful too, and it's so necessary.
Yeah, it's the best I can do.
I can't wait to listen to it. I'm curious to see what your last recording was, and what you learned from it.
Well, I'll definitely let you know. Yeah, recording a bunch of them right now, so that's the way I do it. But anyways, so did you find a particular focus for you, or just the whole general sense? What do you do with your website and offerings for people?
So when I first started in 2014, I wanted to help. I would say I want to help all the grievers. I want to help everybody, which is really hard.
Yeah.
And I started with, like, I would do, parent loss. I would do divorce. I would do job loss, breakups, whatever it was. I did everything. And then I started narrowing it down more and more. And then I narrowed it down a couple of years ago to spousal and life partner loss for women only. Mm-hmm. And then because I'm in the brain tumor community, I'm very enmeshed in the brain tumor world. So I do grief support groups for the brain tumor community. I've done workshops for the brain tumor community. I do a lot of public speaking. And I started, and with my podcast and my website and other interviews that I've done, podcasts I've been on, I found that people were reaching out, women were reaching out to me. Can I work with you? Either their parent had died or their partner had died, and they wanted to work with me. And so I decided last year, it was right after Thanksgiving. I took some time off last year from Thanksgiving to Christmas to New Year's. My mother had died in July of 24, and I didn't do what I preach, which is sit in your pain and give yourself time. I didn't. I took a week off, and then I got right back into working. So by Thanksgiving time, I was completely fatigued, compassion fatigue and burnt out. So I took some time to reflect. Do I want to keep doing one-on-ones? I know I love doing groups. Like you, I love doing support groups. And I love doing workshops and public speaking. Did I want to continue doing one-on-ones? And taking that time was really important, because what came to me, I sat, meditated and really thought about it. And what came to me was women whose loved one has died or are caring for a loved one with a brain tumor. And that became my niche. I'm going to go both words. and that, from after the new year in 2025, I said, that's it. That's my niche. That's super specific. And that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I would love to say I'm being put out of business because there's a cure, but there isn't. And I'm extremely busy with those one-on-ones. I've had wait lists because I really don't like to have too large a client base, especially at this point in my life. But I have like 11 or 12 clients now, and I try to really just do a couple of days a week. Some come every week, some are every other week, some are once a month, depending how long I've been working with them. Some of them tend to graduate, and move forward in a different way. And some just want to keep seeing me once a month, just for those little tune-ups or just that connection with somebody who gets it. So that's my one-on-one niche, is women who have either caring for a loved one with a brain tumor, and that's the anticipatory grief piece.
Yeah.
And those whose loved one has died from a brain tumor.
Do you do them all in person, or are you doing online too?
Nothing's in person.
Mm.
It's all virtual. It's all virtual, which is great. And again, because, I'm a grief coach, I say I'm a grief coach, grief specialist, whatever people want to call me with all these different certifications I have. But because I'm not a licensed therapist, I'm not restricted
Mm-hmm.
by any licensing guidelines or laws, state laws.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have a client in Canada. I have a client who I haven't seen in quite a while in the United Kingdom. And then I have clients all over the country.
The wonder of our technology, right?
I'm
It's
telling
nice.
you know what? And I was not tech, and I'm still not that tech savvy. But when the pandemic hit, right, we all had to learn how to, communicate and connect in a different way.
Mm-hmm. And it did open doors for all of us, I think, through that
Yeah,
too, which is great.
agree,
Yeah.
agree.
So, have you done any writing at all?
So I've been writing a book, Tom, for so many years. And that's the procrastination part of me, little procrastinator that I am. I think part of it, I think other people feel this way too. And I talk to people who want to write or are writing. There's that imposter piece, like, who am I to write a book? Again, who am I to write a book? Who's going to want to read what I write? And also, am I good enough? And there are so many grief books out there. And what I started doing years ago after Stephen died, I started doing a memoir. And I thought, I don't want to really write a memoir. I don't want to write about that experience. There are so many books out there about brain tumor death and brain tumor caregiving. And I said, I don't want to do that. I want to do something else. So what I've been working on is a grief book, and really a grief toolkit book, with including my experience, including my own grief and my own journey with it with Stephen, and even with my parents' deaths. But I'm still working on it. Now, my husband, Joe, who I mentioned before, he is an author. So his book will be coming out shortly. And he's a leader. He does leadership, training, leadership, transformational leadership. He's an executive. And so he's got his book coming out. And his book is called Own Thy Stuff, which is all about accountability and, like I said, transformational leadership. And he asked me to write a chapter on Own Thy Grief for his book. And I had to take pause because the Own Thy Grief thing kind of like, it wasn't sitting well for me. It sounded very like you have to be accountable for your grief, or like own your grief. And so I had to sit with it, and then I came up with a way to do it. So I did write a chapter for his book. And the way I did it, Tom, was owning your grief means empowering yourself. It's not you need to be accountable. Like, how are you showing up? But how are you showing up for you?
Hello, friends. I just wanted to take a brief break here in the podcast to make you aware of a very exciting partnership that Heroes in Grief has just formed, and that is with Get Griefy Magazine. I'm going to let their founder and editor-in-chief, Kara Sanchez, tell you all about it.
Hey, Heroes in Grief listeners. Life after loss isn't easy, but it can be colorful and full of possibilities. Meet Get Griefy Magazine, a vibrant resource filled with inspiring stories of life after loss, expert advice, and voices from everyday grievers and thought leaders. Together, they're here to help guide you toward the side of life that's left to be lived fully and authentically. Dive into Get Griefy for free on Issue, or snag a print copy on Amazon. Connect with us on Instagram at Get Griefy Magazine, or visit getgriefymagazine.com to explore, join our thriving small business collective, or discover advertising opportunities. Let's embrace life after loss, boldly and together.
And now back to our episode.
And when you own your grief, and that, which means allowing yourself to feel it.
Yeah.
You empower yourself.
Yeah, that fits in the context of what he's doing. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I do have a chapter. And I actually just was at the American Brain Tumor Association. I was one of their speakers at their conference. And so I printed out my chapter, and people took it, which was great. So I have that. So that's my big writing. I've written blogs, I've done some blog work, either for myself or other people, but I haven't done the book yet. But I do other stuff, for magazines and things like that. Yeah.
Let me encourage you, if you need it, that, I struggle too, because I'm always someone, I'm a self-made marketer. And so the results thing is in front of you all the time and everything. And I found out that in this grief space that, I can set all that aside. It really doesn't matter, because my goal is to just get another resource out there. And someone's going to find my resource, and maybe not another one that's out there. There's hundreds of grief podcasts too, but just like there's tons of books out there, but I don't think there's ever a wasted one. So go through and do
Thank
it.
you. I appreciate that encouragement. It's funny that starting the podcast was easy. And I started it with another woman who's also widowed, and she's taking a step back. So now I've just taken over. Talking and listening is easy for me. And bearing witness, all of that is easy for me. It comes very naturally to me. And writing comes naturally, but in a different way.
Yeah.
But something's holding me back. So I appreciate your words of wisdom and your encouragement.
Well, when the time is right? And you seek out those things too, and you'll know. So just go with it and be free. That's what I love about it, though, too, in the grief space, is that, and I've actually had this. I'm always like results based in everything that I've done, right? You want to see the results. You're looking at stats. You're looking at whatever. And I've reached a point in all of this where it's just like, where this is supposed to go, it's going to go. And that's all there is to it. So, there's modest results on the podcast. I'm not up there making money with people and all that type of stuff. And it really doesn't matter, and that's the great part about it. So,
Yeah. And I'm like you that way. Like I try. I have a tattoo. After Stephen died, I got a tattoo, and it's upside down, but it says trust. And I'm very much, I surrender and I trust, and just show me the way, step back and just show me the way. So it's me holding me back, right? It's that I think we all do this. I think I see this with so many people, that we get up here where we get so caught up, and I'm pointing to my head if you're just listening, we get so caught up in our heads. And if I just stop and drop into my body, which is what I do with my clients and my groups, and just to drop into your body, it's like, get out of your head. Like your head's going to trip you up every time. Like the ego is going to be like, can you really do that? I don't know if you can do that. Where if I go into my body, it's like, of course you can do that. You're Holly Gainsboro. Of course you can do that.
Get in your heart.
Tom Bender. Of course you can do that.
Yeah. Get in your heart. Right.
Yep.
That's
all me. About. Drop into your heart space. Just notice your heart space.
Yeah. Awesome. I love it. Yeah. So you brought in a lot of elements that I'm very familiar with, mindfulness and those things, and incorporating those. And it's helped me immensely for sure. And so that's encouraging. You're in Charlotte, huh? Charlotte, North Carolina?
I am in Charlotte, North Carolina. Yeah, I am.
Good friends down there. We used to come down every single year, Memorial Day weekend, because they work for NASCAR. And our good friends Jody and Betsy live in Salisbury, actually. So
know it well.
Yeah, I've been down there many times.
I have a funny story about Salisbury. So Stephen and I and our son Derek was 2 when we moved to Charlotte. I've been in Charlotte for over 30 years. And we moved from Boston. So I'm originally from Boston, if you can tell a little bit. I have a little bit of a Boston accent. Not a huge one, but a little bit. My husband says I sound like I'm Canadian.
Well, we get that too. I'm in Niagara Falls, New York. So we get that.
Yeah, so like when I say certain words. So when we moved to Charlotte, there was no Dunkin' Donuts. Because, right, so if you're from Boston, Dunkin' Donuts, you've got to have your Dunkin'. And Stephen was very upset. We were big Dunkin' Donuts fans. And then we found out, and we live in the Ballantyne area of Charlotte. So it's about 45 minutes probably from Salisbury. And he found out there was a Dunkin' Donuts in Salisbury. Well, let me tell you, we took that drive to Salisbury many a time to go get a Dunkin' Donut.
Wow, of all places, Salisbury. I don't know why.
Of all places. Now there's Dunkin' Donuts everywhere. Because, in the South, it's Krispy Kreme. But if you're from Boston, it's like, there's nothing like a Dunkin' Donut.
Yeah, ours is Tim Hortons up here because.
Okay. I've not heard of that one.
Yeah. He was a hockey player. Actually, he played for Toronto and then he played for Buffalo. And unfortunately, he died in a car accident coming back from a game that they played in Toronto. And when he was coming back to Buffalo and he got killed in a car accident. But he had started a coffee shop in Canada. And since that time, it's expanded and it's all over Western New York and now other places. I know it's down into Pennsylvania and other things. So it's really expanded. But yeah, good coffee. Good coffee is a good thing.
I'm about the donut.
Yeah, there you go. Got to watch my A1C right now. So that's what
No, I don't eat a lot of donuts anymore, but back in the day.
Oh, so I'm looking on your site right now, and you have work with me, and then a free discovery session. So you can get to talk to the person, see if you can work together and everything naturally, right?
Yep, that's right. Yeah.
Yep. So just checking out the other resources here.
I need to update that website. Needs to be updated, especially with the brain tumor related part and some of the other things I'm doing. So it's definitely not where it needs to be. I had it created 2 or 3 years ago. I can't remember when we started it because I have a web designer, but I need to go back in, and there's a lot of things I want to put in there to include for people.
So around the brain tumor subject, what kind of unique things do you find in working in that space that maybe just, that those people would know and recognize and something like that?
That's a great question. As far as in the grief piece of it.
Yeah.
Because grief is grief, but brain tumor, listen, all illness is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
All death is horrible. And all cancer sucks. And the brain is our motherboard. And so when the brain is affected and has a tumor, a lot of things change. Sometimes the nuances of our loved ones change depending on where the tumor is. And so what my clients experience and my groups experience can be a lot of changes in their loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
Personality changes, bodily function changes. And so which is why they like working with me, because they know I get it.
Yeah.
It's a very different world, the brain tumor world. I have found with people that I talk to, and I've been involved in the brain tumor world for a really long time now. And I talk to a lot of people, and people are recommended to talk to me, not even just for me to work with them, but newly diagnosed family members, newly diagnosed patients. And so I've talked to tens of thousands of people in this community over the past probably 15 years, 14 years, really long time. And it's always the same thing. It's the fear of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Is my loved one going to change? How am I present for them? How am I present for myself? There's so much that comes with that. And unless you're part of the brain tumor community and lived it, you don't know. Because brain tumor patients, certainly at the beginning, until they decline, there's that, they don't look sick. I remember someone saying that to Stephen, you don't look sick. And I said, well, he's not sick. He has a brain tumor.
Yeah.
The brain tumor doesn't have him. He has a brain tumor. But for patients too, though, when people will say, well, you look fine, why are you so tired? Or say to the loved one, the care partner, I don't understand why you can't go out tonight. Why can't your partner looks fine? Or your child looks fine? Why can't your child do this? Why can't your child do that? If the child is diagnosed with a brain tumor. And so there's this community need to be witnessed. And not always needing to explain the experience, but just to be able to explain the pain of the experience.
Yeah. Do you
that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Do you include the person themselves because of the grief they're experiencing?
So I don't. I only work with the care partners.
Okay.
The loved ones of the patient. But National Brain Tumor Society, which I'm involved with them, I do a grief support conversations for them, for people whose loved one has died from brain tumor. And they also have something called Brain Tumor Support Conversations, which is for the brain tumor community at large, but it is mostly patients. And I co-facilitate that with a couple of other people. And so that's their opportunity, that they come together. And there's something, like I said, about community coming together for support. And so patients will come in and they will share where they are. And grief invariably comes up in one way or another with them, and talking about, the grief of what was, the grief of what's to be, the grief of, cognitive changes, the grief of physical changes, the grief of not being able to work anymore for some people, the grief of maybe not as mobile, there are just so many things that I see. So that is a great space. But I don't work directly. I don't do one-on-ones with survivors.
Mm-hmm. And again, it just brings up the element of, for people who may not listen all the time or be involved in this space much, that grief takes on, as you said, so many different forms. So you have a person who is experiencing this, a brain tumor, and the grief they go through of thinking about their loss, of their future, their life, all different elements of them is a big part of that. And that happens with all of us too. You mentioned anticipatory grief. If someone has a prolonged illness that is not going to end very well, then that you're already experiencing grief in the midst of that. And so people, it's good to recognize that, so the things you're going through are all part of that process, and you can deal with it with the grief help elements that are available to you.
Right. And when I think about anticipatory grief, I talk about this a lot. People think of anticipatory grief as anticipating the death.
Yeah.
Right. And I try to expand that and make that a little bit broader. And because some people are really thrown off. I remember doing a call with consult with somebody whose mother has glioblastoma. And I said, you're in anticipatory grief. She says, I don't want to anticipate her death. I don't want to be in anticipatory grief. She's very young, like early 20s. And I said, hold on. And so now I say this, and I really share this often. Anticipatory grief is not just anticipating death. It's anticipation of so many things. Anticipation of what the changes are going to be. What is the caregiving going to look like? If you're the patient, anticipating the changes of what is going to happen, anticipating treatment and your treatment options, and what is that going to do to you? How is it going to make you feel? And so it's anticipation of so many things. It's not just looking at, death, which is what we typically think of when we've learned about anticipatory grief, you and I. But it's so much bigger than that. And it's just anticipation of so much of the unknown.
Now, I'm wondering if my understanding of that term is wrong, or if there is another term for this, because what I included in anticipatory grief was that what is happening now for them, at that time for them, not, you're anticipating the death, yes, but it includes what's going on, the grief you're experiencing then and before that ever happens, because of the losses that have taken place already. Is that right?
Exactly.
Or is there
and that's how I feel. And that's how I feel.
Term for that? I don't know.
And I don't think there is, because like I said, I think anticipation is anticipation, right? And with anticipation can come some angst.
Yeah.
Anything that's uncertain, which life is anyway, will bring some anticipation, that anticipating something. And that, whether it's worry, or sometimes it's anticipation can be exciting. But in this topic, in the grief topic, it's not very exciting. And it's not something we're looking forward to. It's the unknown of what is coming to be. So yeah, I am totally in agreement with you with that. But I have found that when people hear anticipatory grief, and when I first learned about it, it was really anticipatory grief is upon diagnosis, the clinical thing, in anticipating what life is going to look like leading up to death. And so I like to reframe it as best I can so that people don't get mired down with I'm anticipating my person's death. Like, maybe you are. But maybe you're also anticipating all the other things that come with it way before death is going to show up. Because who knows how long someone's going to survive.
Yeah. And what you've already experienced in those losses. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. I learn something every time.
And I remember with Stephen, when you talked about the patient grieving, and I remember Stephen, feeling that, about his life and what is that going to look like for him. And it was more for him. What is this going to look like for my children and my wife? What is the burden being placed on? And that was his biggest thing. He didn't want to be a burden. And he didn't want to cause additional burden on me.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's just how amazing he was during that time. And that is grief.
Yeah.
That is that grief. And that was that was anticipatory grief for him for sure. All the dreams we had of what life was going to look like for us. Our kids were 6th grade and 10th grade at the time of his diagnosis. And then Derek was a senior in high school and Leanna was in 8th grade when he died. And so all of that, all that's like this stirring in the pot, it's all this bubbling, the bubbling, in the pressure cooker.
Yeah. And for people to work in the midst of that and work dealing with that openly at that time can be so precious. You think of the impressionable ages of your children at that time and everything, and it could be so powerful for them to work with the patient and everything through all of that. And it's that's a special and important thing for sure.
Yeah.
Wow. I love it. Love that you have a specialized focus on this because that's what it's. I say it almost every podcast that this is the purpose of this, to get the resources out there for people that need them, that are relating to that. So there's something out there for everybody, and this is a focused area for those people and that are experiencing that, and in the midst of that they can gravitate to. So I'm very appreciative of you coming on and sharing your openness about all of this and everything.
Yeah, I'm an open book. I will share I will disclose anything and everything.
I can kind of tell that.
Yeah. My clients know that too. My clients, I will say, I will disclose if you ask me something. I have these women who are like, did you feel this way? Did this happen to you? Was this,
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah.
You got to relate to them, and they want to relate to you. They want to be comfortable in that. So that's all good.
And it's so isolating, grief is so lonely and isolating.
Yeah.
And so, just to have somebody to say, yeah, I see you. I get it.
Right.
I don't know your exact experience because our grief is unique to all of us. So I'll never say I know how you feel.
Yeah.
But I get how you feel.
Yep.
I get it.
And any of you out there, you can be amongst so many people and have so many people around you, but your grief experience, you're on an island. You really are. Yeah. And we know that. Everybody knows that who's in this space. And so your grief can be witnessed by any of us who are trying to help you gravitate or not gravitate. I'm trying to think of the word. Just work through this. I mean, that's why we feel like we can maybe help you along the way, and that's all, So
yeah, exactly. I mean, you do amazing work, what you're doing.
Well,
for the
thank
grief
you.
community.
I appreciate that. And you too. Thank you. So, anything that besides you talked about the book, but, anything else that's in the works for you, or anything maybe we didn't cover that you'd like to talk about?
I'm just doing the work. Just, doing the work every day, working to learn so I can be even more present and holding that space for people, doing more conferences. I've got a couple of conferences coming up next month.
Good.
I'm going to be speaking at the Glioblastoma Summit and then another brain tumor organization the week after. So I'm doing a lot of conference public speaking, which I love. You can tell. I mean, give me a stage, give me a microphone. I am all up in it. I am ready to roll. Don't ask me to do PowerPoints. I will, but it's not easy for me. So I have a daughter who helps me with that. So I'm a little inept in that. But yeah, I love doing the workshops. I love these groups and educating people, going to companies, and not always brain tumor related, corporations, different networking groups, and just really educating on grief. Like, how are you showing up for yourself? But also, what are your grief stories?
Yeah.
Like, what did you learn about grief from a very young age? Because what you learned about grief, you're bringing into present day, into how you respond to grief for yourself, but also how you're responding to other people's grief.
Yes, I am very much on board with that. And I will say this till I'm blue in the face, that if you're listening out there, you're in a workplace, you're in an educational setting, whatever the case, your organization, people like Holly and I are available for proactive grief conversations, because what you'll find, it's easy to call somebody in when something's happened, and that happens a lot, and that's okay. We're here for that too. But you can be proactive in this conversation so that you're better equipped when you are facing it. And we can assist with those kind of things too. You can be better equipped coming in. It's not going to get rid of the pain or the hurt of a situation, but it is going to help you in the midst of it. So we're all available for that too. Yeah.
Right. The point isn't to take away the pain. The point is to, whether it's for yourself or someone else, to give that permission to feel the pain.
Mm-hmm.
And to find the way to sit with it, whether you're supporting somebody or supporting yourself on it, and not say some of those platitudes that we know we hear all the time.
Yes. Right.
And let's reframe those, and let's find another way to sit in that darkness with somebody rather than trying to fix it.
Really?
And, and make it bright and cheery, because there's, that toxic positivity, right?
Yeah.
At least.
And what is the cause of that usually is that the person's uncomfortable and wants to make themselves feel better. So they're trying to help you feel better. And if you're better equipped coming into that and have some tools to use, you're going to be able to navigate that better.
Yep. And that's where and I do this with every workshop I do. I have people, I say, go back in time, and I want you to think about a joyful moment when you were a child. What was something joyful and wonderful that happened when you were a child? And they usually go, yeah. And I'll say, maybe you made the cheerleading team, or your soccer team won, or you got the part in the play, you invited to someone's party that you really wanted to go to. And so they come up with something, and I say, and what did the adults in your life say? What was the response? And always like, oh, that's so great. Oh, attaboy, attagirl. Yay, you. This is great. Let's go get ice cream. I'm so proud of you. I said, and now I want you to think of something that was really hard that happened to you. It was a little painful. Some people, it's a hard one to go to access sometimes. And then I say, and what did the adults say? What did you hear? Because that's your first frame of reference for pain, feeling bad, or loss. And so if you have somebody says, this is really hard, let's, be where you are, that's okay, then that's great. But more than not, especially for our generation, I think, is don't feel bad. Let's go get some ice cream. Breakups, you'll meet somebody else, their loss, and nobody's addressing the heartache, right? Nobody's saying, that sounds like this is really hard.
Yeah, tuck it away and get over
right.
it.
And so if you learn that at 5, 6, 7, 10, 12, however old you are, and those are the messages that repeat for you, you're bringing them in, like I said, to present day.
Yeah.
And then once you learn more and learn it differently, then you can respond differently.
Mm-hmm. That is your knee-jerk response, what you've learned. So, yeah.
Right, default behaviors. So that's the first thing I do, because I want people to understand first, what is your history?
Mm-hmm.
What did you learn? And once you recognize that, say, okay, so let's look at this differently now.
Yeah. Let's look at that in a different package.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. Holly, thank you so much. Great stuff. It's very easy to see why people can spend time with you, and your openness, your transparency about everything that you've been through, and how you can relate to them, and your compassion. And it shows. It's wonderful.
Well, thank you. I'm honored to be a part of this world with you, providing that support and those resources for people, and getting to be on here with you. This is super fun.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Appreciate you.
Thank you. So everybody go to her website, which is goldenheartgrief.com. And you can also listen to her podcast, which is at Creating Space for Grief and Hope podcast. So you can find those. Of course, the links will be in the show notes, and we'll have those there. So Holly Gainsboro, thank you so much for being on Heroes in Grief.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you for listening to the Heroes in Grief podcast. If you'd like access to any of the links that we discussed in today's show, you can find them in the show notes. There's also a link there to support the podcast if you care to. And there is an email link for me there. I'd love to hear from you and your ideas about the show, or what you thought about the show. You really can help out this podcast to get to more people if you subscribe, rate, or review it in whichever way your platform provides. Each week, Heroes in Grief is released on Sunday, so look for new episodes there. Thank you again for listening to Heroes in Grief.